Welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Bajo, and it's the business end of the year, Hex, all those big yearly installments.
Yes, but it can be a blessing and a curse. So which will it be when we check out Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag?
A pirate's curse?
Yar, a pirate's curse.
And from the makers of Crysis comes a free-to-play FPS called Warface.
Plus, Dave Callan moves to the beat in Just Dance 2014.
But before all that, can you guess the game for this week?
Pirate. Listen up, kid. I'm the Crow's worst nightmare. I'm the man that's gonna find Terra. I've been sweeping space for years looking for clues.
Why don't you sail off to the news, Hex?
Land ho with the news!
Good game.
Australia's independent consumer organisation Choice has handed out their yearly Shonkies Awards, which recognises the shonkiest products and services. Electronic Arts Australia received a shonky for their customer support line, which charges callers almost $2.50 per minute. This, combined with the online connection woes of the SimCity launch, was what singled out EA for a shonky. Choice noted in its congratulatory message to EA that consumers should not have to pay to exercise their consumer rights. Gamers have helped to solve a 10-year-old medical puzzle, which is a potential key to finding a cure for HIV. Scientists from the University of Washington sent a virtual 3D model of the MPMV retroviral protein to the online game Fold It. Fold It players took just 10 days to find the optimal way to fold the MPMV protein, helping scientists to understand it and potentially find a way to attack it. Very impressive. Researchers in Australia and Germany have conducted a study which found players of certain types of games exhibit a high tolerance to pain. The study tasked a variety of gamers to remove paper clips from ice-cold water. It found that those who played immersive games, such as RPGs, could remove significantly more paper clips than those who played less immersive games. They hypothesised that this was due to immersed players behaving like automaton-like avatars. My theory is that RPG players just really love to loot.
Good game.
It's war. War in the face. It's the face of war. It's faces and war coming together.
Game's called Warface.
It's Warface.
Movement is your most important ability. A static target is a dead target.
This is the latest shooter from Crytek, who brought us Crysis, and it's free to play and also browser-based. Well, it launches from a browser, much like the way Battlefield 3 did.
It does have a fairly lengthy download first, though. And they don't tell you how big it is either, which is something people generally like to know.
Yeah, especially in the age of solid-state drives, precious gigabytes. The first thing that struck me, though, was that there's no local servers, which is always a bit disappointing. And there aren't any Asia or Pacific region servers we can choose from either, just American, European, or Turkish servers. Now, I have nothing against Turkey, Hex, I'm sure they need servers like everyone else, but it just struck me a bit odd.
It was a bit weird, but regardless, thankfully lag wasn't too much of an issue. It's been optimised for online play, so you won't find annoying rubber banding, but you might find some slight delays in enemy deaths, that kind of thing. Visually, it looks good. There's a solid feel to the gunplay that puts it on par with a lot of full-price shooters out there.
Much like Crysis, you can make adjustments to weapons on the fly by adding scopes and things like that. There's also a squad mate boost you can do to help lift your buddies to higher ground. We've seen that a million times, but I've never seen it in a multiplayer game before.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a game changer, but it does provide you with some good tactical options. You have your typical variety of classes to choose from, with rifleman and sniper open to you straight away, while medic and engineer unlock after a little bit of play. And they work much like they do in Battlefield, with riflemen being able to restock ammo, medics being able to revive, and so forth.
Gameplay felt somewhere in the middle of Call of Duty and Battlefield to me, and Counter-Strike, and Crysis. It's a bland Hex. It has the classes of Battlefield, but the smaller maps of Call of Duty, and they only go up to 8 versus 8. I liked most of the maps, even though they're your standard generic slums. And there's your usual slew of game modes: free-for-all, team deathmatch, plant the bomb,
Bomb planted.
and storm, which puts one team on offense trying to capture 3 points, while the other plays defense.
Good job.
And to round it all out, there is a decent bunch of co-op missions you can do with up to 5 people, and these are a great way to get some XP and unlocks before diving into versus. I like that they occasionally throw in a big boss or vehicle to tease some teamwork out of you, and they get pretty hard. although often they spawn enemies behind you, which I thought was a bit cheap.
I thought there was a confusing array of in-game currencies. In terms of what you can earn through playing, you have cash, which you can get from multiplayer. You can also fork over real money for credits with a K, and revive coins, which you can then spend on reviving yourself in co-op without a medic. I just find all that a bit confusing, and whenever they do it, I feel like they're distancing us from the real money, which is kind of a classic technique in free-to-play games.
Yeah, but you can happily play without spending any money, I think. Guns and gear can usually be purchased with either cash or credit, so there's not much that you can't earn by simply playing. The only thing you actually need to pay to get access to are those revive coins and VIP booster packs, which boost the XP and cash that you earn for a week. So, all in all, I think it's a decent model.
It's interesting to see a developer as big as Crytek make a free-to-play FPS like this, and as we've seen with games like Blacklight Retribution, when they get a good community behind it, they can have a bit of a snowball effect. So I think this is worth a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not as innovative as Crysis, but as far as free-to-play FPS goes, I think it's a solid option. I'm giving it 7 as well.
Your teammates are waiting for you.
Good game.
No, I'm not dancing to One Direction. No, I'm not. You can't make me. Hello, I'm Dave Callan. Just Dance 2014 is out. I could tell you about it, or I could...
I'm a father gentleman.
Perhaps I should use some words as well. I was initially quite disappointed in the range of customizable vehicles and weapons available. Then I realized it's a dancing game, so that's probably okay. However, I'm not a fan of the name change to a yearly model. You get a karaoke bonus for singing, so it's not just dancing anymore. And since none of these songs are actually from 2014, because it hasn't happened yet, this game should be renamed to Just Dance and Sing as well, if you want to, up to and including October 2013. Although that would be quite wordy. But naming gripes aside, in my thorough experience of the dance game genre, Just Dance 2014 is probably the best one yet. Okay, maybe it doesn't have the best soundtrack, but this game has hit a series peak in presentation, graphics, and choreography. As for the tracks, it's a well-worn formula now.
So clap your hands, clap your hands. Bottle, flip, bottle, guzzle. I'm a bad dude, no muzzle.
About half contemporary dance tracks, a handful of novelties from the 60s to 80s. A few oldies in case Grandma wants to Charleston to Nicki Minaj. Oh, and something for Bogan cousin Jeff to jump around to.
Something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
Also, there's one for the kids to dance to.
Be the first on your block to meet his eye. Make way, here he comes, ring bells, bang the drums. Are you gonna love this guy?
And the brilliant Just Dance humor is as wacky as ever. Do you want to do the running man as Robin? Or maybe be a robot dancing with the space lady? Perhaps even a sumo dancing to Far East movement. Well, maybe not, but the important thing is you can. Although Just Dance always picks some of the biggest contemporary hits, it's not entirely up to date, so please, Ubisoft, we need some Miley DLC with giant wrecking ball peripheral you can ride around your lounge room and lickable sledgehammer.
Everybody get up.
But even though there's no Miley, we do get another undisputed pop hit of the year. Blurred Lines is perhaps a dodgy song, but the choreography is still lots of fun. But we all know that isn't the real choreography. Let's take a look.
When you got them jeans on, what do we need steam for? You the hottest bitch in this place. I feel so lucky. You wanna hug me? What?
You can unlock bonus versions of the tracks, which have more complicated choreography for the series Just Dancer, by using a combination of real and pretend money. No real money. We bought the game, give us all of it, you gentleman. Some bonus tracks are time-locked exclusives, which is a lovely way of withholding content so you don't trade the disc in. Overt capitalism aside, these bonus versions are all fantastic and definitely worth unlocking for the lounge room Travolta. An example is Blame It on the Boogie. The original is this weird sort of 90s sitcom, fun for all the family, but the Sweat version is this amazing high-energy disco routine which provides the most amazing choreography and cardio.
I just can't control my feet. Sunshine.
Whilst the core content is the same across all the platforms, for me, the Wii U is definitely the superior edition of the game, simply because it's easier for the console to read 4 players, and you get to have a 5th person control the party from the gamepad, which is great if you have a house filled with noobs. You know, the ones whose favorite thing in the world is pressing back instead of select, returning you to the previous menu. Yeah, those people. Wii U also has Party Master mode, so you can choose one of 4 moves every 10 seconds on the gamepad to make up new choreography on the fly. Which is great fun and doesn't give anybody an unfair advantage if they already know the song really well. But one big advantage of Kinect is the instant action replay of your dance. I was playing and suddenly there were images of a hairy guy dancing around in his underpants. I'm like, what the hell is this? Oh wait, that's me. I hope that doesn't automatically upload to the internet.
We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up all night to get lucky.
Just Dance 2014 is an amazing party game and also great fun solo. It'll teach you how to dance, kind of, and get you looking good for summer. 9 out of 10 rubber chickens from me. No.
Good game.
Thanks, Dave.
Fix your eyes on that horizon, Bajo, because it's a pirate's life for me.
Who's out there?
Here's to our pirate republic, lads.
The Assassin's Creed series has undoubtedly become one of the biggest blockbuster gaming franchises, with consistent yearly releases to appease hungry fans. But oversaturation of a familiar formula has left some feeling a little bit jaded, and whilst we enjoyed 3, it's safe to say that the series has lost some of its sparkle.
Yeah, each game has built and expanded on the previous title, bringing new mechanics and techniques while retaining bits and pieces of former games.
Very fine.
There's a nice sense of fluidity to the evolution of the series, but each release never really feels different enough as a result.
With Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, however, it seems Ubisoft have come in cannons blazing. 8 different Ubisoft development studios worked on this title, and I have to say, it's a real return to form.
What's the crew's mood?
You play as Edward Kenway, father of Haytham Kenway, who we spent a brief stint in the boots of in AC3. And Hex, I instantly found Edward so likeable.
Yeah, he's a much more appealing character from the offset than both Connor and Haytham. He's brash, arrogant, and cavalier, all qualities I've really missed since young Ezio. And there's a great cast of seafaring rogues to plot and plunder with.
Not a bad-looking tinderbox you got there.
Is it envy? Because mine's bigger than yours.
After attempting to make an honest living on the high seas, Edward falls into piracy, chasing gold and glory.
Did you see her?
He has a run-in with an assassin and spies an opportunity to make a quick buck. So he assumes his identity to deliver a mystical artifact to the Templars and snatch the payment. Thus, Edward becomes embroiled in the Assassin-Templar War.
Kings will fall, clergy will cower, and the hearts and minds of the world will be ours.
It's a cool story, but it's a bit odd that this scurvy sea dog puts on an outfit and can suddenly do all this assassin-y stuff. Coincidentally, though, he apparently has the sense and is part of an ancestral assassin chain, so there you go.
While the game retains the core open-world approach to discovering new locations, completing objectives, and hunting down secrets, the Caribbean waterworld makes for a fresh new landscape to play in.
We recently spoke to the senior producer on Black Flag, who spoke about how they've evolved the open world since Assassin's Creed 3.
The size of the world is actually huge. It's one of the largest we've ever created. You have more than half of the Caribbeans. Basically, you have a huge patch there that you can explore seamlessly, completely seamlessly. So there's of course the will to handhold you to explore in the right direction, but you're really free to go anywhere. And so we're learning game after game about making sure you're driven by a main story, but you have tons of opportunities to do side quests and just explore. And I think that's the balance that we're trying to get for Assassin's Creed 4.
Edward commandeers a ship, gets a crew together, and sets out into the open sea in search of booty.
A considerable portion of the game is comprised of your seafaring adventures as you seek out enemy ships to fight, board, and plunder. And as it is such a major part of it, a lot of work has gone into making these encounters detailed and exciting, and it's absolutely wonderful. Just about every awesome pirate cliche has been artfully woven into this game.
Yeah, I just loved pulling out my spyglass and squinting at shapes on the horizon, identifying ships that I could annihilate and harvest their cargo. Every coin you earn and every item of cargo you steal goes towards crafting upgrades for your vessel. More guns, stronger fortifications to make your ship the Jackdaw, a deadly assassin in its own right.
Yeah, but it's also hilarious when you spy a ship and you're like, all right, let's take this sucker on, but then you see it's like some massive man of war with like a trillion rows of guns, and you're like, lol, nope, turn around, quickly, let's get out of here.
After a successful ship battle, if you're careful not to sink the ship entirely, you can then begin boarding. But the enemy crew won't go down without a fight, so if you haven't bolstered up your own crew enough, then it's here where things can go badly for you. Plus, smaller ships and schooners have sailors with swords, but when taking on larger frigates, their officers are well equipped and tough to fight.
These battles are probably one of my favourite parts of the game, Bajo. You can do a zillion of them and they never get old. And the other pirates are constantly making helpful suggestions of which guns to use, or if you're about to have a collision, it feels like a fully functioning crew. I would always heroically swing on a rope from my ship to the enemies to start my swashbuckling. It's the full pirate fantasy in action, and the rousing cheer when the enemy surrenders is brilliant.
Even just navigating the ocean is a joy, isn't it? I love those sea shanties your crew sings as you sail. And you can add more tunes to your crew's repertoire by chasing down these sheets of music that can be found in ports and towns, which I always did because I love them so much.
I love them too. Love a good shanty. That one about Sally Brown was stuck in my head for weeks.
How does it go?
Sally Brown is the girl for me, yo.
Sally Brown, she's the gal for me, boys. Roll, boys, roll, boys.
Something Sally Brown.
I've been hearing that all week.
But even more so, just seeing the ship on the water is just a fraction of how beautiful this game looks. It's going to look sensational on next gen. These bright Caribbean colours are such a welcome change for the franchise. The ship against that dusky rose sunset would take my breath away. And whenever we took to the water with the sailors singing, "My love she came," you know, I get it. That captain's love of his ship, the freedom of the open ocean, I feel that.
And what's a pirate without a message in a bottle or a treasure map in his hand? Assassin's games are known for their endless checklists of secrets, collectibles, and side quests for you to complete, but I felt like this time, although the sheer volume can be overwhelming, you really do feel compelled to seek them out. The treasure maps in particular are classic, as you have to match up coordinates with a drawing of the location, and of course X marks the spot.
The money gain is particularly worthwhile too, they're not just silly trophies. Plus, there are the main story quest chains, which will have you chasing down Templar keys and mystical Mayan stones.
That's a strange look. Is it worth something?
Bajo, this is where these games really hook me, line and sinker. Anytime there's some cool armor set locked behind a gate or a mysterious door where you need X amount of stones to see what's behind it, I become consumed with finding them, as in 10 more minutes turns into an all-nighter, and I haven't really felt that tug since AC2, but I was right back into this. It just brings out something obsessive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's one. Couple dozen more and you're in.
Your journey will take you through all sorts of undiscovered locations, from small islands to large port towns. And it's there where you'll get right back into the familiar territory of stealth and assassinations. It's nice that free running is no longer the real focus of this game now. It's there, but it's more second nature. Stealth remains a large part of the game though, with many missions that will see you desynchronize upon detection.
Yeah, you'll slowly obtain a familiar arsenal of blades, pistols, darts, and knives to take out guards. And probably my favourite way to assassinate a guard is simply to kick him off the roof of a building. And I still love being able to whistle from a hiding spot to attract a guard's attention. This means the enemy comes to you and you never have to leave the safety of cover. Honestly, I don't know how many bodies I fit in this cupboard, but it was a lot.
A quick way to earn cash and supplies is to rob a heavily guarded warehouse. This involves a lot of careful planning, disabling alarm bells, and a lot of whistling. But it feels great when you pull it all off. And once again, the reward is worth it instead of just opening up a new area of the map.
Assassin's Creed always encourages the stealth option. The areas are literally designed with multiple ways to be sneaky. A thoughtfully placed branch, some shrubs, a hay bale. But if your stealth plan fails and you do mess up, you can still fight your way out of it in certain cases. This is no easy task though, and you'll have to time your counters and defense breaks well. So yes, you can fight, but it's never going to be a walk in the park for you, even with Edward's double-sworded swashbuckling.
I haven't really enjoyed the combat in the Assassin's games as much as I wanted to, and I feel like now that they haven't evolved that further, it's just starting to feel a bit dated. I just think the counter system is unintuitive, and getting the timing right is a bit awkward, and I don't like the way the enemies move and their animations. I feel like it's the one thing that they didn't revamp that they probably should have.
I didn't mind it. I mean, it always takes me a while to get the hang of it, but I like that they make it challenging enough that you can never just button mash your way through. The only time I really felt like the combat suffered was in those close quarters fights in the deck of a ship. It just doesn't quite work, does it?
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on half the time. It was all over the place.
Also, the AI has some seriously derp moments. If enemies suspect you're in a hiding spot, they'll throw bombs, but often they'll get in the way of each other and the bomb hits one of them and they all just stand around as it blows up in their faces. What are you doing, noobs?
I love the animations when they lose sight of you. Where did he go? I thought the HUD was pretty cluttered overall, but I'm so glad you could turn most of that off. Every game should have that option.
Personally, I feel like this is such a mammoth game with so much to do and keep track of that I leave all of that on. I need all those clues and markers, otherwise I just get confused or lose track of which objective I'm chasing. I do think the design of it could have done with a bit of an update, but it's a necessary part of gameplay for me.
I wasn't a fan of the giant seawall that you come up to when you reach an area that is not available yet.
Yeah, it's really annoying. It's particularly frustrating when you're in the middle of a ship battle and the boat sails out of an area that you're in and you're kind of caught fighting between this mystical water wall.
Yes, it would have been nice if they could have just made the open world.
Yeah, thankfully the ocean is big enough that this only ever really happens once or twice. And there's so much to explore early on anyway that it doesn't feel too restrictive. Every island, no matter how small, is an opportunity to find some loot. Hunting is still a major part of money gain and crafting. You can seek out everything from deer to crocodiles.
The inclusion of the harpooning sequences caused an outcry in the community, and I can understand why, but also fits in the context and the time period. These pirates aren't particularly environmentally conscious, they're just hungry for their next meal and that's all they're thinking about.
There is something quite confronting about seeing a shark hoisted up and bleeding from the side of your ship. It's not a mandatory option though, so you can simply ignore those opportunities if you're bothered by it. I've left the whales alone so far.
First time I saw a whale, I tried to ram it with my boat. It's a video game whale. If you put a video game whale in your game, I'm probably going to try and ram it with a boat, because it's there. Back to the story. I'm glad I finally care about the Abstergo stuff.
I just saw you were logging out, so I thought I'd stop by and give you something. A little welcome gift.
Since Assassin's Creed 3 more or less wrapped up the Desmond storyline, this time the person entering the Animus is you, a new employee of the Super Swish Abstergo Corporation. We won't go into this too much because it would spoil it, but I'm glad there's some real intrigue to the Out of the Animus gameplay.
Yeah, and I think like many games in this series, the greater story takes a while to get going. Especially if you're like me and spend hours upon hours at sea trying to beef up your ship. But once you begin pushing through the main campaign, Edward's life as a pirate turned assassin starts to make a little more sense. The mystery surrounding both the Templars and the Assassin's Guild is still exciting, and Edward comes to realise that there's more to being an assassin than simply wearing the outfit.
You have remarkable skills.
Oh, thanks, mate. It comes natural.
But you're churlish and arrogant, prancing around in a uniform that you have not earned.
There's even an appearance from a celebrity guest pirate.
Why fly a black flag when a black beard will do?
And it adds to the wonderful mix of history and legend that this series is so well known for. Multiplayer also makes a return with its signature cat and mouse gameplay. Not much new to talk about there. It's a shame they didn't introduce some sort of multiplayer ship combat. That felt like a wasted opportunity to me. But Hex, what's your final verdict? Are you a scurvy landlubber, or has the wild seas claimed your heart?
Yar, me heart belongs to the ocean. You know, every time I feel like I'm falling out of love with this franchise, they reel me back in, Badge. What can I say? I'm a fan. Honestly, though, there's a romance to this game that I just haven't felt since I first laid eyes on that Venetian cityscape in Assassin's Creed 2, and I'm just so glad they've managed to recapture that feeling in me. This is a sequel all 8 Ubisoft studios should be proud of, so I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Except for the fiddly swordplay, I loved it too. The ocean landscape and the ship-to-ship combat is so well crafted. It's a fresh breath of salty sea air for the series, so I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
All hands aft, lads. We're taking this one home.
So, did you guess the game for this week?
It's got little army guys on it. Little army dudes.
It does. He's like a little soldier. He's... Oh.
It was Spaceship Warlock, a sci-fi adventure game first released for Mac in 1991. After a war with the Kroll, humanity had no home, so many of them turned to piracy in order to survive. Eye patches and all.
Now that you know my true plans, you can relax.
And it's our Guess the Game for this week because of pirates, and also Goose requested it.
We should start taking fewer requests for the Guess the Game.
That is a good idea.
Next week on the show, it's destruction and mayhem in Battlefield 4.
We got this. We got this. Yes.
And just a reminder, if you would like to leave your own reviews on any of the games we cover on the show, you can do so via the Good Game app, which is available for iOS and Android.
Yes, we love reading all your thoughts, and sometimes we put them in our segment Your Review on Good Game Pocket Edition. Well, until next time, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
Bajo out.